Thousands of travelers are streaming back into South Africa through the bustling Beitbridge Border Post in Musina, Limpopo. Since the start of the new year, nearly 10,000 people have crossed the border between Zimbabwe and South Africa. Newzroom Afrika's Veronica Makhoali is on the ground and joins us now. Veronica, Beitbridge is one of the country's busiest border crossings. What's the situation like there this morning?
Well, I can tell you, Chaba, if we just look at the numbers since the 1st of January, having more than 10,000, well, close to 10,000 people crossing into South Africa, I can only tell you just how busy this holiday return leg is. In fact, it was the Border Management Authority that says while they are ready for the operation of the festive season travel, that exodus that we often see during the December period, it's now truly where the work begins, especially here in January. It's been a hive of activity. As you know, that Beitbridge is, of course, a 24-hour port. And so what we're seeing here today is usually what takes place throughout the entire period. We're seeing taxis coming in, trucks also moving through, buses, throngs of buses, not just coming out from Zimbabwe, but, of course, as we know, that Beitbridge is, of course, that corridor, that passageway that connects South Africa to the rest of Africa. We've been speaking to travelers who've been coming from as far as Tanzania, Malawi, the DRC. And so this is the bustling of the Beitbridge that we're talking about. And of course, since Thursday, we've been working quite closely with the Border Management Authority, observing some of their operations and expecting some of those key areas of the border. Specifically, we know the processing of trucks, the processing of immigration and passports, seeing the strengths of those systems, making sure that there's no glitches that some of the travelers can expect that lead often to those historical long queues that we know this border to be notorious for. But what was also key in parts of the inspections was looking at those vulnerable points of the border. We visited the Limpopo River, which we know is a gateway or even an open gate, one might say, for illegal crossings and the smuggling of illicit goods. We also took an opportunity to observe the borderline itself and the fence, which we know was built really around, we've always had that borderline, but it was reinforced rather during that peak of the COVID-19 time, where the government built it at around, a budget of 37 million. Today, we've seen how that shoddy border has really just been left compromised, gaping holes throughout it. And this is ultimately the challenge that the BMA has inherited and what they are trying to strengthen in terms of systems when it comes to securing the country's borders. All of these operations that we've been doing with the BMA since Thursday has been in preparation for today's challenges. We know that they are expecting the peak now officially to really start showing this weekend, where more people are expected to start moving in for various reasons. Some, the opportunities that are on the other side, some are coming back for work, but you cannot ignore that this is obviously a peak opportunity for criminality to show. The BMA has said it is ready to face any eventuality when it comes to the borders, and ultimately that they will be expecting this consistent increase in traffic volumes to peak up until the 15th of January. That's when they'll be anticipating the return leg of this holiday season to actually start slowing down. Chaba.
On that note, Veronica, are we seeing heightened security given the fact that there is a higher volume of travelers at the moment?
Well, certainly part of the Border Management Authority, and not just them, this is of course including other departments that man our borders and our ports of entry, including SARS, the police service, as well as the South African National Defence Force, have from right at the start of the festive season said that they will be deploying more personnel, more boots on the ground. And we've definitely been seeing that. I mean, just leading up until this border, there are several roadblocks in place. This is, of course, the work of the SAPS, yes, but even inside the border control, you can see just that movement of authorities, just watching, parts of the queues. But even as you move a little bit closer to that final checkpoint on the bridge of the Beitbridge border itself, there is an additional number of staff. And this is crucial, especially because, Mashaba, we know that the BMA is facing a funding and a staff shortfall, about 4 billion rand, that it actually needs to equip itself. And so it said, despite the fact that it doesn't have necessarily as many manpower as it needs, it is still definitely up for the task. But what we have seen while we've been observing some of the operations here is that, Mashaba, you could have as many people as you want on the ground. The reality is many will still try and take the opportunity to get their way, to take a chance to get inside the border. We've seen various irregularities from some of the travelers here, arrests as well taking place. From yesterday, we know that the number stands at about 101, but because of the fact that this is a 24-hour operation, hearing as well from the BMA that when the sun sets, that's truly really when they start to see those challenges, people moving from the riverbanks into the bushes, under the bridges, and likely that number has increased this morning. We'll be bringing you those latest figures in our next crossing. But you can have as much manpower as you want. The reality is, in the irregularities that we've seen, some people coming forward with passports that have already expired, stamps that they haven't received from the other side to, of course, secure their safe passage into South Africa, and some ever so brazenly coming in without no documentation whatsoever, trying, of course, to not be detected by officials. And this is a difficult job because there is truly influxes of people streaming in and out. And this is where technology needs to come in terms of the border management control. There is the usage of drones. This has, of course, been part of the festive season plan for the BMA, where they've introduced drones at least 5 ports of entry in the country, one of them being here at Beitbridge. We've seen just how crucial having that eye in the sky has been, where they're able, of course, to watch over and look over certain parts that would be quite difficult for some of the officials to get to, of course, given the fact that many of them now are expected to be inundated. And so some of those who are looking for an opportunity, knowing that there will be a rush today, will definitely still be sought out, given the fact that there is additional resources, especially from a technological advantage.
All right, thank you very much. Veronica Makhoali, Newzroom Afrika reporter, who's currently at the Beitbridge Border Post in Musina, Limpopo.